Mr. Carter Simmons woke before dawn, the soft glow of streetlights slipping through the curtains. He sat on the edge of his bed and took a slow breath. The day ahead felt heavier than most. For months, he had heard whispers of unfair treatment. At one of the diners under his restaurant group's name, CEO, he had smiled at first, believing these were small issues managers could handle. But when the reports kept coming, staff docking, pay for tiny errors, workers too afraid to speak, he knew he had to see it for himself. He needed to understand more than numbers on a report. He needed real life. He stood and dressed quickly in simple clothes, a dark blue jacket, plain white shirt, worn jeans, and ordinary shoes. He studied himself in the mirror, smoothing down his hair and practicing a casual smile. No expensive watch or designer label would be visible. Today, he would be Devin Brown, a new busser, hoping to earn a few extra dollars. He reached into his pocket, pulled out an old phone, and slipped it into the jacket. He left his own behind. No email, no messages, just a borrowed number and a borrowed life for the morning. The drive to Millie's diner was quiet. The streets were nearly empty, and the diner's neon sign flickered as he pulled into a spot at the far end of the lot. He took a moment to look at the worn building, red bricks, a blue awning, large windows showing empty booths inside. Smoky air floated up from an exhaust vent. It felt like the kinds of places that fed generations of families, places where locals gathered for comfort and company. He imagined the regulars who came for hot coffee and friendly faces. He hoped he would fit in. He entered the diner through a side door marked Employees Only. Inside, the smell of frying bacon and fresh coffee greeted him. The kitchen was alive with clattering pans and busy cooks shouting orders. Waitresses in faded uniforms scribbled down orders on cheap notepads. A manager, clipboard in hand, moved among them, nodding at some and frowning at others. As Carter now Devin watched, he felt a mix of excitement and worry. What if the stories were wrong? What if he found everything was fine? Yet the concern in his heart kept him steady. He stepped forward. A tall young cook with a friendly grin approached. "You Devin?" the cook asked, eyeing him. "Yeah, that's me," he lied, holding out a firm handshake. "First day, right? I'm Jake. Follow me." Jake led him to a small storage room, where he found a faded uniform shirt and a name tag printed Devin. The shirt smelled of detergent and grease. Shrugged it on, buttoning it carefully. He pinned the tag over his heart and then pulled on a sturdy apron. He felt the weight of his new identity in his hands. Jake showed him the routines, sweeping floors, resetting tables, taking dirty dishes to the kitchen. "Keep the coffee. Pot's full, too. Customers hate empty cups." Devin nodded, repeating the steps. He tried to look relaxed, but his mind buzzed with questions. How many workers had stories like Jasmine's? How often did managers dock pay unfairly? He vowed to listen closely, to observe every detail. He reminded himself to stay humble. He was here not to judge, but to learn. The diner buzzed to life. Around 6:45, few early customers trickled in, an elderly man with a newspaper, a young couple sharing a quiet breakfast, a father and son laughing over pancakes. Devin greeted each with a gentle smile, cleared a booth, then refilled coffee cups. The work was harder than he expected, lifting trays, dodging spilled syrup, rushing to catch a wandering toddler. Sweat formed at his brow under the diner. Lights. He felt awkward at first, knocking into chairs and fumbling silverware, but he caught on quickly. At 7:15, Jasmine Lee walked in. She was a petite woman with dark hair pulled back in a neat bun. Her uniform was pressed and her name tag shone new. She looked friendly but tired, as if she carried worries behind her bright eyes. She greeted a regular Mr. Henderson by name, bringing him his usual bacon and scrambled eggs. Then she spotted Devin and offered him a quick nod. "You holdin' up, Devin?" she asked lightly. He smiled and said, "Yes, ma'am. Thank you." She glanced at him for a moment, maybe noticing the slight hesitation in his step, but then moved on to the next table. Devin followed her example, pushing a cart of dishes toward the kitchen. He heard Jasmine softly mention to another waitress, "I lost half my tips this week." The voice was low, almost hidden beneath the clatter of plates. He froze for a heartbeat, listening. Lost half her tips, he could not understand. Whispered, "To the coworker. They marked me late for seating that one table. But my table was full, and the computer glitched. I said I'd cover it, but they still took it out. His heart tightened. He pushed the cart faster, hoping to catch more details. When he returned, Jasmine was on her break, leaning against the counter with a tired sigh. A small notebook lay open before her. He poured himself a coffee and pretended to be surprised to see her. "You need a refill?" he asked, keeping his tone casual. She looked up, offered him a polite smile. "Thanks, Devin. I think I'm okay." He nodded and added a few ice cubes, saying, "It's a tough morning." She nodded back, giving him a look that felt like gratitude. He wanted to ask more, but he held back. He was here to listen, not to pry. By 8 o'clock, the rush had slowed. Plates of pancakes and waffles sat empty on cleared tables. The morning sunlight glowed through the windows. He stood behind the counter, catching his breath. Sweat dampened his uniform. Around him, staff chatted in low voices, laughter mixed with complaints. He felt part of their world now, his suit and office far away. For the first time, he truly understood what working here meant. He saw the strength it took to serve others. With a smile, despite hunger, fatigue, or worry, his shift was only part of the truth. Today, he would gather more stories, more proof. But already, he felt changed. Carter Simmons, the man who ran thousands of restaurants from a high-rise office, was now Devin Brown, a busser who depended on the kindness of managers and fairness of policies. He looked at Jasmine as she returned to her tables, standing a little straighter, determined to do her best. He made a silent promise to her. Her voice would be heard, and her work would matter. He would not let her down. As the clock ticked toward 9, he wiped his brow and prepared for the next wave of customers. But inside him, the real work had begun, closing the gap between boardroom decisions and the lives of people like Jasmine. He picked up a tray of dishes and stepped toward the kitchen, ready to learn, ready to see the truth unfold. And with each step, he felt the weight of responsibility grow heavier, but he was determined to carry it. Devin took a deep breath as he stepped onto the diner floor for his first full morning shift. The air smelled of frying eggs and fresh coffee. He carried a stack of plates in one hand and a towel in the other. His heart beat faster than when he started the day as Carter Simmons. Here he was just Devin Brown, a new busser, eager to do his best. He reminded himself to smile and stay calm, even when the orders came in fast. He glanced around and saw Jasmine Lee moving gracefully between tables. Her dark hair was tied back neatly, and her uniform looked crisp. She greeted each customer by name, as if she had known them for years. When she approached the table where an elderly couple sat, she spoke gently. "Good morning, Mr. Thompson. Your usual omelet, right?" The couple beamed at her. She placed the plates, carefully refilled their coffee mug, and moved on. Devin watched her every move, impressed by her skill. A young family with 2 small children sat in the corner booth. The children giggled as they waited for their pancakes. Jasmine knelt by their table, showing them the syrup dispensers. She laughed softly at a joke the little girl told. Then she stood and hurried toward the kitchen, a look of concentration on her face. Devin followed at a distance, preparing to clear the empty dishes. He noticed how she never paused, always focused on making her customers happy. When the rush slowed for a moment, he approached her with a tray of dirty dishes. "Here you go," he said, setting the plates down. She offered a quick thanks without stopping. "Thanks, Devin. Good work." Her voice was warm but tired. Devin wanted to ask how she was feeling, but he held back. He nodded and refilled a coffee pot instead. He thought he heard her whisper, "I wish I could take a break." She forced a small smile and walked away. Devin found Jake, the cook, in the back, cleaning up spilled batter. "Hey, Devin," Jake said, wiping his hands on a rag. "You get in the hang of it?" Devin shrugged. "I think so. It's busier than I expected," Jake laughed. "It never slows down, trust me, but you'll learn. Just remember to watch the waitresses. They keep this place running." Devin raised an eyebrow. "What do you mean?" Jake glanced over his shoulder and lowered his voice. "They get blamed for everything. If a customer waits too long, they lose tips. If the timer goes off by a minute, they get docked. Management says we follow policy, but sometimes it feels personal. Devin's stomach tightened. He promised himself to listen more carefully. Back on the floor, Jasmine greeted a new customer. A young man in a suit sat at the counter reading a newspaper. She smiled and said, "Good morning, sir. What can I get you?" He ordered a simple coffee and toast. Jasmine poured the coffee and placed a menu beside him. She looked polite and professional, but Devin noticed a flicker of exhaustion in her eyes. She seemed to hold back her true feelings. He felt a surge of respect for her resilience as he cleared tables. Devin overheard a short conversation between Jasmine and another waitress, Maria. They stood near the condiment station, talking in low voices. Maria asked, "How many hours did you lose this week?" Jasmine sighed. 10. They docked me for being 3 minutes late to one table yesterday. Maria's eyes widened. 3 minutes. That's harsh. Jasmine rubbed her temple. I know. The order came through wrong. I had to fix it, but they still docked me. She looked at Devin, as if she suddenly remembered he might hear. She covered her mouth and said, "Sorry, I shouldn't talk here." Then she hurried back to work. Devin's hands trembled as he stacked dishes. He felt angry but tried to hide it. He reminded himself that he was here to learn. He watched Jasmine handle a spilled cup of juice. A child had knocked it over. Jasmine grabbed paper towels, cleaned up the mess quickly, and comforted the child with a kind word. No one saw her frustration. She simply smiled and said, "Don't worry, sweetheart. Mama will clean it up." Devin admired how she stayed calm under pressure. He followed Jasmine to a booth where a man complained about his food. The man frowned at a plate of eggs and said they were cold. Jasmine listened politely. "I'm sorry about that," she said. She took the plate and walked to the kitchen. Devin hovered nearby. He heard the cook grumble, "She brings it back because she's picky." But Jasmine stayed calm. She returned with a hot plate of eggs. The customer nodded and smiled. She wiped his forehead with a napkin and said, "There you go, sir." Devin realized how much strength it took for her to remain courteous. During a brief break, Jasmine and Maria sat at a small table in a corner. Devin joined them, carrying 2 cups of coffee. Maria glanced at him and offered a seat. "Coffee?" Devin handed a cup to Jasmine. She looked surprised, but took it. They sat quietly, sipping the hot drink. Jasmine's shoulders relaxed for a moment. Devin cleared his throat. "Jasmine, I heard about the docking. I'm sorry. That seems unfair." Jasmine looked at him with cautious eyes. "It's just policy," she said softly. "Nothing I can do." Devin nodded, though he felt uneasy about her words. He watched her leave to take another order. Her back was straight, but her steps felt heavy. He thought of all the times she had to smile when she felt upset. He imagined how hard it was to keep going day after day. He wiped his own brow and stood up. He knew he needed more details to understand the full story. He would keep listening, keep watching, gather every piece of the truth. As the morning moved on, the diner grew busier again. Phones rang with takeout orders. Customers chatted loudly. The staff worked together smoothly, as if in a practice dance. Devin felt part of this world now. He no longer saw the diner as a franchise on a report. He saw people with hopes and fears working hard to earn a living. He saw Jasmine's strength and her quiet struggle for fairness. By the time the breakfast rush ended, Devin felt a mixture of admiration and concern. I'd learned much in just a few hours how the staff cared for each other, how Jasmine shone. Despite unfair treatment and how easy it was to overlook such treatment from an office far away, he gathered his courage. Tomorrow, he would ask more questions. He would find the proof he needed to help Jasmine and others. But for now, he would finish his shift, keep his eyes open, and remember every detail. He held on to the promise he had, made to use what he saw today to bring real change for everyone at Millie's Diner. Devin wiped his forehead as late morning light warmed the diner's windows. The crowd had thinned after the breakfast rush. Plates of French toast and omelets now clicked quietly in the kitchen as cooks cleaned up. He refilled ketchup bottles and straightened napkin holders, his mind still busy with what he had heard from Jasmine. He wondered how many other stories were hidden under polite smiles. He pushed a cart toward the back where Jasmine leaned against the counter. She took a sip of water and closed her eyes for a moment. Devin paused by her side. "You okay?" he asked softly. She opened her eyes and offered a tired smile. "I'll live," she said. "Just a long morning." Devin nodded but stayed. He felt he needed to know more. She glanced around as if checking no one was listening, then lowered her voice. "Shouldn't complain," she whispered, "but it hurts to see my paycheck so small." Devin's heart tightened. He waited for her to go on. Jasmine pushed a loose strand of hair behind her ear. "Last week," she said, "I had to cover for another waitress who called in sick. I did 5 extra tables. I thought I'd earn more tips." She sighed, pressing her fingers to her temple. "But then they docked me $40. They said I left too many dishes on one table." Devin blinked. "$40? She nodded. "That's nearly half my take-home pay." She tapped her fingers on the counter. "I don't mind hard work, but this feels wrong." Devin felt angry but kept his tone calm. "Do they record these deductions?" he asked. She shrugged. "There's a printout in the office, but I never see it until after payday. By then, it's too late." Devin made a silent note to find that printout. He moved away to clear a booth. Plates sat with crumbs and empty glasses. He gathered them gently, careful not to jostle silverware. While he worked, he watched Jasmine help a mother soothe a crying baby. She hummed a soft lullaby and rocked the high chair. The baby calmed instantly and drifted back to play. Devin marveled at her patience. She handled stress with kindness that made every customer feel at ease. Yet behind her, grace was a worry he could not ignore. Devin found Jake by the grill, flipping burgers. He leaned in and spoke quietly. "Jake, do you want to grab lunch somewhere after your shift?" Jake shrugged. "Not sure. I owe Mike some hours." He glanced at the office door. "He might need me to cover counters." Devin nodded, then asked gently, "What does Mike think of Jasmine?" Jake paused, spat out a bit of grease, and wiped his mouth. "Mike, he's the manager, says. She's reliable but slow." Devin cocked an eyebrow. "Slow." Jake laughed low. "He wants quick service. If she stops to help customers, he says she wastes time." Devin frowned. "Does he ever dock her pay?" Jake shrugged again. "He says policy, but I heard he docked her twice last month." Devin thanked him and returned to the floor. He felt the unfair weight of rules that punished kindness. A group of construction workers came in, loud and hungry. They slouched into booths and called for coffee. Jasmine hustled over, greeted each by name, and took drink orders. Devin admired how she managed their rough jokes and loud chatter with a soft laugh. She refilled mugs without spilling a drop. After serving them, she caught his eye and gave him a quick nod. It felt like a signal. She trusted him a little now. Devin straightened a table nearby, listening for any more hints of trouble. During a slow moment, he ventured into the small office. The door creaked as he pushed it open. Inside, dusty files lined a shelf, and a desk sat under a flickering light. He found a printer with a stack of pay reports. He carefully picked up the top sheet, scanning names and numbers. There it was, Jasmine Lee, deductions totaling $80 this pay period. He flipped to the next page. Another docking for late delivery, this one $20. He counted the time she had worked, over 50 hours. He should have earned extra, but she was docked instead. His jaw tightened. He heard footsteps and slipped out before anyone noticed. He cradled the papers in his arm, careful not to crease them. Back on the floor, he cleared more dishes. His hands trembled slightly. He kept glancing at Jasmine, who was refilling creamers at the counter. He approached her with a gentle smile. "I found these," he said, pressing the papers into her hand. She looked stunned. "Where did you get these?" she whispered. Devin shrugged. "I was curious. I thought you might want to see." She stared at the numbers. Her eyes grew wide. "This is all about me," she said softly. "I can't believe it." She looked up at him, tears shimmering. He felt a surge of protectiveness. Before he could say more, a waitress called for busser help. Jasmine folded the papers and tucked them into her apron pocket. She drew a breath and returned to work. Devin followed a step behind, promising not to let this go. He wondered how many others were docked unfairly. He resolved to gather every report before the day ended. As afternoon approached, Devin joined Jasmine and Maria on their break. This time, Jasmine spoke more freely. She told them about her daughter's soccer game last week. She missed it because she had to cover extra tables. Maria looked sympathetic. "They say they need us at work," she said. "See our lives." Jasmine nodded. "I don't mind missing one game," she said, "but when they take my money, that hurts." Devin listened, his heart heavy. He realized how much these women sacrificed. He knew it was time to act. Devin spent the rest of the afternoon watching the manager, Mr. Steele. He followed him to the office, peeking through the window. He saw Steele type on the computer, approving more deductions. He heard Steele mutter, "These new rules keep workers in line." Devin felt cold anger. He noted the time and the rule names, late seating and slow service. Hay took a mental picture of Steele's face, ready for the moment he would confront him. When the shift ended, the staff gathered outside. Jasmine stretched and yawned. Devin approached her. "I have what I need," he said quietly. She looked at him, confused. "Thanks," she whispered. He nodded. "I'll take it from here." She blinked. "You will?" He smiled. "I promise." He turned to the group. "Good work today," he said warmly. They all nodded, tired but proud. Devin felt sure he had the facts to help them. He walked to his car, carrying the papers like precious stones. Inside the car, he changed back into his own clothes. He slipped the reports into his briefcase. As night fell, he drove toward his downtown office, his mind racing. Thought of Jasmine's smile, her gentle spirit under pressure. Thought of her missing her daughter's game and losing her. Wages, he felt a stronger desire than ever to make things right. Tomorrow he would meet with Mr. Steele as Carter Simmons, CEO. He would show him the evidence and demand change. And for Jasmine, he would do everything he could to restore her pay and her trust. Carter Simmons arrived at Millie's diner just as the lunch crowd began to gather. He stepped through the front door in his usual sharp suit and polished shoes. His hair was neat, and he wore a calm, confident smile. No one recognized him now. As Devin browned from the morning, he breathed in the familiar scent of coffee and cooking food. He saw Jasmine Lee moving between tables, greeting customers. She looked up and offered a friendly nod, not knowing he was there with a different purpose today. Carter felt a surge of pride and concern as he watched her work. He walked toward the manager's office at the back. The door was closed, and he knocked softly. "Come in," called Mr. Steele's voice. Carter entered and closed the door behind him. Steele looked up from paperwork and smiled politely. "Mr. Simmons," he said, rising to shake hands. "I'm glad you could stop by. I hear you scheduled a visit." Carter shook the man's hand firmly. "Yes," he said. "I wanted to see how things are running here firsthand." Steele gestured to a chair. "Please, have a seat." Carter sat and looked around the cramped office. Old flyers and a few awards decorated the walls. Small fan word in the corner. Steele took a breath. "We've had a busy morning," he said. "Our staff is doing their best." Carter nodded. "That's good to hear." He paused, then added, "But I also heard some concerns." Steele's face grew tense. "Concerns?" he repeated. Carter leaned forward. "Yes, I understand you have a system of docking, pay for mistakes or slow service." Steele frowned. "That's company policy."
"We must keep standards high."
Carter kept his voice calm. "I agree, we need standards. But I also learned those deductions were applied unfairly to Jasmine Lee." Steele's eyes narrowed. "I don't know what you mean. We treat all employees the same." Carter opened his briefcase and pulled out the printed pay reports. He placed them on the desk. Steele looked down, confusion on his face. "These are Jasmine's reports," Carter said softly. $40 here for late seating, $20 there for slow clearing, and more $80 in total this pay period." Steele's mouth opened. I can explain." Carter held up a hand. "Please do." Steele swallowed. "The system flags slow actions. It's automated. I don't personally choose. Deductions?" Carter shook his head. "These were reviewed by you before approval." He tapped the papers. "I saw your initials." Steele's shoulders slumped. Yes, I approved them. But I thought I was enforcing policy fairly, Carter looked him in the eye. Fairly means checking the reasons behind each case. Jasmine covered extra tables and helped customers kindly. She was docked for helping others stay happy. Steele's gaze dropped. I didn't see it that way. Carter closed the briefcase. I want you to reverse these deductions immediately. I want a full audit of all recent deductions for every staff member here. Steele nodded slowly. Yes, of course. Carter stood. I'm also going to meet with Jasmine and apologize in person. Steele glanced up. That's wise. Carter turned and left the office, walking down the hall. He found Jasmine. Clearing a table near the window, she looked up at him, surprise in her eyes. He approached and offered a warm smile. Jasmine, she said softly. He nodded. Yes, I want to apologize. My name is Carter Simmons. I'm the CEO of the restaurant group. Jasmine's jaw dropped. She stared, speechless. Carter held out his hand. I'm sorry you had to face unfair pay deductions. I saw the reports. It should never have happened. Jasmine hesitated, then shook his hand. Her grip was firm but trembling. I don't know what to say, she whispered. Carter reached into his pocket and pulled out an envelope. This is the money you lost, plus a bonus for the trouble. He handed it to her. She opened it and saw a check for the full amount, plus extra. Her eyes filled with tears. Thank you, she said, voice thick. Carter shook his head. Thank you for your dedication. You and your coworkers work hard every day. You deserve respect and fair treatment. Jasmine looked around at the busy diner. I just wanted to do my best, she said. I didn't expect this. Carter smiled. You did more than your best. You showed kindness to every customer. That's the heart of our business. Jasmine wiped her cheek. Keep trying, Carter nodded. We'll keep improving. Starting now. He turned to call Steele. Mr. Steele? Steele appeared from the office doorway. Carter looked at him. Please announce to the staff that all deductions are reversed and we're launching a fair review system. Steele bowed his head. Yes, sir. Right away. Steele cleared his throat and called for attention. The staff stopped their tasks and gathered around. Carter stood beside him. Steele spoke first. Everyone, please hear me. Effective immediately. All paid deductions from the past to pay periods are reversed. We will review our policies too. Ensure fairness. Jasmine exchanged an astonished glance with Maria. Carter stepped forward. Thank you all for your hard work. I walked a day in your shoes and saw your dedication. You deserve respect in a fair workplace. The staff clapped softly, smiles spreading. Jasmine placed a hand on Carter's arm. Thank you for caring, she said. After the announcement, Carter and Jasmine sat by a booth with a cup of coffee each. He asked about her life outside work. She told him about her daughter's soccer team, her love of painting, and her dreams of taking a cooking class. He listened attentively and encouraged her to pursue her passions. She laughed, the tension easing from her face. He felt glad he could help. Before leaving, Carter invited Jasmine to his office for lunch the next week. Let's talk about ideas to make your jobs easier and happier, he said. Jasmine smiled warmly. I'd like that. Carter watched her return to her shift, moving with renewed energy and pride. He felt a deep satisfaction, knowing real change had begun here. Later, back in his downtown office, Carter reviewed the audit plan he had ordered. He called HR and told them to conduct a thorough review of all franchise payroll deductions. He also scheduled training for all managers on fair policies and listening to employee concerns. He updated the company newsletter to feature stories from staff members across locations so their voices could be heard. That evening, Carter reflected. On the day's events, he thought of Jasmine's smile, her resilience, and her kindness. He remembered the sound of pans clattering in the diner kitchen and the hum of conversation among customers. He realized that good leadership meant more than profit margins. It meant walking among your people, listening, and acting on what you learn. He felt proud to lead a company that could grow and still care for every employee. As the sun set, Carter closed his laptop and stood by the window, looking at the city lights. He promised himself to never forget the lesson of Millie's Diner, that fairness and respect are the true foundations of success. He knew this was only the beginning of positive change, and he looked forward to the future with hope and determination. Jasmine stepped into Millie's Diner the next morning, feeling lighter than she had in weeks. The sun shone through the windows, and the air smelled of fresh coffee and warm butter. As she walked past the counter, she saw Mr. Simmons now back. In his suit, smiling at her, he waved, and she felt her heart lift. Today would be different. She clocked in and found a new memo on the bulletin board. In neat writing, it said that all past deductions were reversed, and a new fair pay policy was in place. Managers would meet with staff each week to listen to concerns. Jasmine read it twice and then smiled at Maria, who nodded excitedly. For the first time in a long time, Jasmine believed things would stay right. A group of early workers gathered. Near the kitchen, they welcomed Jasmine with warm greetings. One of them held out a donut. She laughed and accepted it. "Thank you," she said, biting into the soft pastry. It tasted sweet, but sweeter still was the feeling of being valued. When the first customers arrived, Jasmine approached them with her usual calm cheer. She greeted Mr. Thompson and Mrs. Keller by name. They smiled back, happy to see her. She took their orders and promised hot food in just a moment. As she turned to walk away, she felt a tap on her shoulder. It was Mr. Simmons. He handed her a small card. On it was written an invitation to a new employee forum he was starting. "Your input matters," he said. She nodded and felt tears of joy welling in her eyes. The lunch rush began, and Jasmine moved between tables with ease. She refilled coffee cups. She remembered how hard she had worked under fear of losing. Pay now. She moved freely, confident that her effort would be honored. A family with 2 young children sat in her section. The children were shy at first, but when she knelt to their level and asked about their day, they giggled and talked all at once. Jasmine listened, and her smile grew with each story. She brought them a stack of pancakes and drew happy faces. In syrup, the children cheered, and the parents looked at her gratefully. Jasmine realized how much her simple kindness could brighten someone's day. In the corner, Devin now back as Carter watched the scene from a booth. He had come too. See how things were going after the changes? He saw Jasmine at her best, free from worry and full of warmth. He felt proud that his decision had made this possible. He sipped his coffee and listened to the laughter around him. When the rush ended, Carter joined Jasmine at an empty table. He asked about her experience. She leaned back, closing her eyes for a moment. "I feel like I can breathe," she said. "I enjoy my work again. I don't have to fear the next paycheck." Carter nodded. "That was never my intention. I want every person here to feel safe and respected." He slid a small gift box. Across the table, it's a little thank you for your courage and hard work. Jasmine opened it and found a Tacona pin shaped like a small star too, where, on her apron, it read, "Valued Team Member." She placed it beside her name tag and looked at Carter with gratitude. Maria and Jake joined them, bringing slices of pie. They sat together, talking and laughing. Jake joked about the crazy lunch orders they had taken. Maria recalled how she once had a customer ask for 3 different jams on each slice of toast. They all laughed. Jasmine realized that this friendship, this support, was part of what made the diner feel like home. That afternoon, Carter walked through the diner and met each employee. He listened as they shared stories, some small, some bigger. A young waitress told him how she wanted to finish college. Cook said he hoped to start a food truck one day. Carter took notes and promised to help where he could. He offered guidance on tuition help and small loans for a first business. The staff watched as their boss listened with genuine care. Jasmine felt her respect for him grow. As the day ended, Carter and Jasmine walked out together. The sky was pink and orange as the sun set. He asked if she would join the new employee forum tomorrow evening. She agreed, eager to share her ideas. She thought of ways to make the diner more welcoming, a suggestion box near the entrance, new music in the seating area, a community board for local events. He listened closely and wrote them down. Jasmine walked home that night with a light step. She thought of her daughter's soccer game scheduled for next week. She marked the date on her calendar, determined to attend. She pictured herself cheering. From the sidelines, no longer torn between work and family, she felt hopeful about the future. Back at his office, Carter reviewed the feedback forms he collected. He smiled as he read the ideas and concerns. He planned meetings with HR and the branch managers to roll out the new changes company-wide. He wanted every diner under his umbrella to be as fair and kind as Millie's. He drafted thank you emails to the Millie's team, praising them for their openness and hard work. In the days that followed, the diner settled into its new rhythm. No more whispered complaints. Instead, staff spoke openly in weekly meetings. They shared challenges and successes. A new manager, trained by Carter's team, joined and brought fresh energy. The team began a small tradition. Each week, they recognized one person with a Star of the Week award, simple certificate, and a gift card. Jasmine was the first to receive it, and she laughed as they pinned a gold star on her apron. Customers noticed the change, too. The diner felt more alive, more welcoming. Word spread in the town about the fair treatment of staff. Families came in, saying they liked the friendly atmosphere. Business grew. Carter saw the numbers rise and the customer feedback improve. But more than profits, he saw happier faces and heard genuine laughter in the dining room. One Saturday morning, Jasmine served a local news reporter who asked about her experience. She spoke confidently about the new policies and the support from the company. The reporter wrote an article titled "Diner with a Heart: How One CEO Changed an Industry," featuring Jasmine's story. When the article was published, Jasmine became a local hero. People stopped her in the street to say thank you. She felt proud that her voice made a difference. Months later, Carter visited Millie's again, this time without warning. He sat at the counter and watched Jasmine at work. She greeted him with a warm smile and introduced him to a new trainee. "This is Sam," she said. "He's learning the ropes." Carter nodded approvingly. He saw Jasmine guiding Sam patiently. He knew the kindness she showed customers she now shared with coworkers, shaping a better team. As he left, he turned back to see Jasmine waving. He waved back, thinking how a simple choice to listen and act could change so much. He drove away, carrying the memory of voices humming in the diner, of smiles exchanged, and of justice restored. He promised himself to always remember the lesson of Millie's Diner, that a business thrives when people are treated with fairness, respect, and care. And in that promise, he found the true heart of leadership.